What's going on, guys? So I'm making videos again. I wanted to make a video about kind of like my beginnings with things like mysticism and my whole spiritual side. A lot of that started with my interest in video games and anime. Like, as a young child, I was very interested in... I played a lot of video games, like Pokemon, Super Mario, Zelda, Kirby, all the Nintendo games, and then also games like Kingdom Hearts. But there's like that fantasy element in all those games. Like, I was never really interested in games like Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto that seemed too realistic, because I feel like that's real life, so like I would just rather live real life. But see, the Nintendo games, there's this whole like I said, it's the whole fantasy to it, so you can't like live that. But yeah, as a young child, I was very like, I was always in a daydream, like always imagining like my life as like a kind of like story or something. And I loved nature. I loved being around animals. I was like that, like, and now I'm a poet, so musician too. But Nintendo, you see, like I said, that was my beginnings with all the mystical stuff. All of like the music and all the imagery in all these games that I played and all the anime, they have this sense of like wonder and awe. Like in the Bible, wonder and awe like was one of the gifts. I think that's in the Bible, but that sense of wonder and awe is in all these like fantasy video games. And like many years later, with my interest in things like meditation, I started shamanic journeying, and I didn't actually realize that that's what I was doing. You see, if you don't know what that is, shamanic journeying is when you go into a trance state and you visit these other worlds, and you're able to obtain insight into your problems and things like that. If you have a question, you're supposed to ask yourself, or we'll ask like the spirits there, and they reveal it to you in a kind of metaphorical way usually. But you see, when I started shamanic journeying many years ago, like 2012 around, I would go to like these worlds, but it'd be like a video game world. Like, not all the time, but usually it was based on one of the games that I played in my childhood. Like, I've seen Zelda and Super Mario RPG. It was really cool stuff. What's going on? And like, I would realize that the little things that were happening, like the little characters that like act a certain way in this like trance or vision, they reveal something about my life. I've had many visions actually of Pokemon. Like, it sounds silly, but the specific Pokemon that I see will like kind of imply something about what I'm thinking, or something about my life, like a certain situation. Like the general vibe that the Pokemon has, if it's like a strong Pokemon, then it might be telling me to be stronger about my situation. Or if I'm thinking about a person and I see like a Manaphy, like if you know what that is, it's like the little blue guy. It's maybe telling me that this person is kind of like that, like the general qualities and vibe of that Pokemon. Yeah, it's funny. And it's happened multiple times. Like, I've had a lot of these experiences back in the old days. Then I kind of like fell out of it, because when I started going to the hospital because I was schizophrenic, I started having delusions. And yeah, then the medication, and I lost the will to like trance again, to a shamanic journey again. But then recently it's been coming back to me, and I'm on medication, but I'm still working towards it because I'm not going to stop. But recently, actually, a few months ago, before I was put on the medication, I was in a trance, like shamanic journey state, where I saw the Great Fairy from the old Zelda games, like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And she was like, "Oh, you have that? I have that too." And I knew she, like intuitively, I knew she was referring to that type of like, it's this thing with schizophrenics. Like, we get into like this flow state, as I can put it, but there are certain things that happen that our mind creates that cause us to like kind of like panic or get into a state of fear. It's like the chemical imbalance in the brain. But I've had a lot of experiences with things like that where it's like a video game character or something shows itself to me and then says something or like acts a certain way, and I'm able to like get information on my condition or any other problem that I'm facing. It's really cool stuff, and I think that anybody that's ever been interested in those games, like as they're in their childhood, you should really practice shamanic journeying, because like you can actually like communicate with like these beings. The way you see, the way I describe it is that like I think these video game worlds and like fantasy worlds that we see in video games and like TV shows and stuff, I think somewhere out there, maybe in another universe, these events like actually took place and like they are like real people and beings. I really think that. And I think somehow, like some way or another, when we get into like these trance states, we're communicating with their higher selves. They're like infinite, timeless selves, and they're like sharing information with us. And that's why I think it sounds kind of lame, but it's like you can actually like meet these beings, these like characters. It's cool, but it's lame at the same time. You would know what I'm talking about if you were like a millennial growing up with that. I mean, as you can see, I love the woods. I'm in the woods. I love nature. So yeah, my beginnings with things like mysticism and shamanism and spirituality, that all started really with like video games and like the whole fantasy world. Because if it wasn't for that, I think I probably would be. I would have still led. It would, like all the events in my life somehow like I feel would have led up to like my interest in spirituality and things like that. But it's just such a cool beginning to it, because it's like we're peeking into like other worlds almost through just playing a little damn video game. So yeah, I'm gonna be making videos more often. I'm gonna try hard to. So subscribe and just stay on the lookout for more videos by me. Okay? Peace. These are the Farmingdale Woods, right by Farmingdale High School. And there's like a neighborhood right over there, and on both sides, so that's why it's a pretty small piece of woods. Yeah, you get it.